Welcome back to another edition of the Stack Supplement Podcast. We run down all of the top stories and exciting announcements shared on our website from the past 7 days. You may not be able to see it, but I am indeed wearing our special edition tee that we got put together specifically for supply side later this week. We in Las Vegas, of course, and we will be there checking out everything that it has to offer. Obviously, if you weren't aware, supply side is very much a industry level show, so it's not too much consumer interest, mostly industry, but we will be there checking everything out. Ingredients, brands will be in town checking it out as well, so it'll be a great time to chat with them. And if you see me or you haven't got something organized or you want to, reach out. But if you just see someone rolling around with this shirt, specifically me, tap me on the shoulder. I'll be happy to chat, have a talk, catch up. We've got a lot of meetings lined up, but we can always make time for more and look for a jam-packed week. But getting into it, also, I should note, some people have asked, are we selling these? No, this was purely just thrown together for the show because we have a lot of people that know about Stacked, but not necessarily know anybody there. And this, I guess, is a very nice way to, hey, I'm Stacked, the most straightforward way possible. So yeah, maybe we'll put them together if people really like them, but these are specifically for the team. So getting into the updates and announcements we had on the site, there were some mammoth ones, and we're going to kick things off with news from brand down under, ATP Science. In fact, we got a couple stories from some Australian companies. And ATP Science, we don't feature all that often. They used to be pretty busy back a few months back, a few years back maybe. It's very well known for some very specialized health products, and they've come out with bars throughout the years. They did two collagen bars specifically. They had the jelly bar and the marshmallow or mellow bar as it was originally called, and they are basically collagen-based protein snacks. So again, if you're preferable to whey or other sources, not necessarily collagen, maybe not for you, but it is entirely collagen-based. But the catch with these is that the name, the jelly and mellow, are pretty much spot on with how they taste. So the jelly bar, you bite through it, it's like jelly. It is just to the point. The flavor is obviously not as sweet, it's not a sugary snack, but the consistency is there. Now the mellow bar, damn good. Again, that thing, it just has that softer, more marshmallow, kind of like a runny mellow, almost like a s'mores marshmallow thing, but it nails the consistency. So if you're a fan, if you don't mind the collagen source, it's a damn good snack, and it's incredibly lean. Of course, once again, collagen is the base. Now, this past week, they've done what's called the Collagen Fusion Bar. And you can probably guess, knowing the jelly bar and the mellow bar, what it's done. So the product is very similar macros to those other ones. It's got a nice covering of chocolate, but inside, still collagen-based, you've got basically a half layer of jelly, half layer of marshmallow. And knowing how damn good those two work together, just how good the jelly bar is, and then you got the mellow bar, I have to imagine this thing's going to be damn good. When you can get different consistencies into a protein snack, it tends to play pretty well. It takes away almost like if you don't have much flavor, but you can mix up jelly, gooey, and maybe even like a crumbly consistency, it adds to the experience. And while the collagen bars from ATP don't scream like decadence or richness in terms of flavor, like with Bear Bells and other candy bar style ones, that consistency is pretty damn impressive, and it's hard to turn down. This one, I imagine they, gonna be damn good. Again, macro similar to the others, 50-50 split though, jello to mellow. I was gonna say jello to mellow, that works. But yeah, it's a fun little snack. Not something you see often, and I think it's undersold how difficult it is to do that. Like to do a snack that's different from the rest of the market, different from what else is out there. But on top of that, doing something that is two-layered like that, a unique two-layer thing, those aren't as easy as people might think, let alone finding some sort of unique structure. So you can get that now over at ATP in Australia. And then I said there were two big Australian stories. The other one, and this is a fun one, and if you know, basically, is the story here. So Muscle Nation has been doing a lot of protein snacks. It started out in sports nutrition with like a pre-workout. I think they had an amino, a fat burner, and then they got into proteins. And then when they went to proteins, they had a casein pudding, which was like casein is easier to make sludge out of due to the consistency. And in Australia, that's a very common thing to have, what they call a custard or a pudding protein. That's basically just a casein or casein blend that you can easily turn into pudding. And so Muscle Nation's had some of those, but since it did that, it went into protein bars, protein snacks, a whole bunch of different functional foods, including protein puffs. And they are not as lean as some of the chips and puffs we get here in the US, but it is, stand out nonetheless. And they have got it into major supermarkets, which is a huge, huge thing. When you can get positioning in places like that, it opens your brand up to a much wider audience, an alternative market. If you can communicate your product to someone that's not on the lookout for protein, you're not competing with someone else in the industry. You're bringing them to the industry, which is always a good thing. And it opens their eyes up to snacks and then protein powders and then maybe even pre-workouts. But either way, Muscle Nation has done a collaboration flavor, an authentic collaboration flavor for their protein puffs. And I will say, this is a hit or miss thing. I know what this tastes like, very familiar with it, had it many times, and I like it personally. I know what it is. So we're talking about Vegemite. Vegemite is, forget the name, it's the black spread from Australia. You might have seen it. I've seen it plenty of times in social media where they kind of it's not until you kind of take a step back and realize, okay, yeah, jet black spread that tastes like salty something is odd. And I was introduced to it very differently, obviously, but I think it's tasty. Great. I will throw it on my toast, bread, sandwich, whatever, whenever needed. However, it's not everyone's cup of tea, you could say. And Muscle Nation has indeed made a flavor in partnership with the legendary spread, Vegemite, for its protein puffs. Now, it is worth noting it is a Vegemite plus cheese. So puffs inherently, or like the protein puff snacks that you get, tend to lead into that cheese flavor, kind of like, I guess, your general puff snack, like Cheetos. So I do think it's interesting they put a cheese thing in there. They said that it's got a touch of cheese, or it's Vegemite plus cheese. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a cheese with like a salty infusion, like cheese is the major flavor, because if this is an all-out Vegemite flavor, right, and this is something that tastes entirely like Vegemite, cheese doesn't stand a chance to even be noticed in the palate. Vegemite is a very strong, I guess, again, salty, malty flavor. And I mean, part of the experience of that food is the fact that it's jet black, and you've seen that kind of painted on anything. It's visual, but the taste itself is also quite impactful. So it would be interesting to see how that tastes. But the fact that they have got this partnership, and Vegemite is a powerhouse name in Australia and neighboring New Zealand, it's a huge play for them, because if this can get them, and Muscle Nation has placements in supermarkets, so we're already bridging a gap by putting better for you snacks, foods, and whatever into supermarkets. If you are able to then have something they can relate to in Australia, very similar to, I guess, how if you had an Oreo protein powder at a front display at a Walmart or a Target, it would pop. People would probably pick it up just on like instinct or impulse. And this is the same. And being partnered with Vegemite, who actually seems to be playing quite a big part in the partnership with Muscle Nation. They collabed on the announcement. They even posted comments, would suggest that they don't mind leveraging their power. And, there's two sides to this. Obviously, Vegemite can be seen as more health related, and then vice versa. Muscle Nation's protein puffs can be put on a more mainstream stage. So, damn cool announcement. Kudos to Muscle Nation. And again, probably not seen as that big of an announcement, I guess, on the grand scale and compared to bigger markets like Europe and America, obviously. But in terms of Australia, that's probably one of the granddaddies of them all. That Vegemite has been around, and it is just a legend in that part of the world. So yeah, big shout out to them. We're now going to jump over to a review that we did this week with the protein bar. I think we mentioned this last week. I'm pretty sure we did. It's the David Protein Bar. I was going to say David's Protein Bar, but the David Protein Bar, the uniquely named, very uniquely branded. Like that chrome gold packaging catches your eye. It doesn't scream muscles, doesn't shout out protein. It just says David in bold and a gold wrapper. So it has a very candy bar type feel. But holy shit. I think I mentioned it last week a little bit. This thing didn't need to be tasty, right? With 28 grams of protein to 150 calories, it's protein bar-esque, give or take, right? Protein powders usually land around 25 grams of protein, 120, 130 calories. This has 28 grams of protein, so it bumps it up a little, but if you scale that down, it comes out late 30s in calories, 130s. to 25 grams of protein. So this is on par with most protein powders, with a lot of protein powders. Not as lean as an isolate, but keep in mind, this is a protein bar. This is not a drink. This is an edible thing. And it even tops a lot of protein shakes. Protein RTDs. Now, as I said, this didn't need to taste ridiculously good, right? This is the macros of the function is so good. It could have been whatever. It just needed to be edible. But this thing's damn enjoyable. It has the smoothness of it is incomparable, I guess is a good word. No one has protein bar is as smooth as this, let alone has the protein and carbs to match. And I think that's a huge point to make, is that everything that's said about the protein bar is generally just about the protein bar. It's so relative. It's not better than the Bear Bells in terms of a candy bar, or has the sweetness where it's going to replace like a craving, but for its functionality plus the form, it's one of the best. It's as game changing as I've probably seen, and I'm not trying to oversell it. It's just I have not seen a protein bar vastly different, or this vastly different, for forever. Maybe the Quest bar back when it debuted, it was very different at the time. Here you get, literally, it just feels like a nostalgic kid's lunchtime snack, like a snack bar, like a muesli, and your teeth think through. There's no extra chewing. It has crispy pieces, but the rest of the the body doesn't like take time to eat, so the crispy pieces don't hold you up. You just eat this, done in seconds, no aftermath, no kind of thing sitting around in your mouth. Genuinely, I was surprised at just how easy to eat this is. And I think, again, it's not as, how would I say, it's not as mind-blowing as I guess as when you have something that says, like, it's covered in chocolate, it's got a caramel layer, it has some gooey berry in there. That stuff's the stuff that shocks you and kind of makes, oh my God, this is delicious. This doesn't have that. But you have to understand, they've basically made protein seem as seamlessly edible as a snack bar. And that has not been easy to do. You eat it so smoothly, so efficiently. It fills you up, the moisture of it all. And then throughout the bar, you get little chunks. And it reminds me a lot of Quest's original, the white chocolate raspberry, where they had those big chunks. And they were a little bit few and far between. Here, you get quite a few of them. And they feel like full chocolate chunks. You get the chocolate ones, I think it's the chocolate chip cookie dough. The brownie has them too. The blueberry one has white chocolate. And the birthday cake, the cake batter, I couldn't get on board with that one. It felt like it was good, don't get me wrong. They're so damn good. The functionality kills it, but the taste on that one's a little bit fired off from the others. But if you are on the hunt for a protein snack that you just want to have in your cupboard because you're like, hey, I don't want to drink a shake, but I want to eat something, or you just want to take it out with you, I don't see anything that comes close to this. And their goal was to make the best protein to calorie ratio. And shit, not only did they do it, they made this taste so damn good and so seamless to eat. It's like one of those ones where you'd give it to a mainstream buyer who's never had a protein bar, and they're going to think like, oh, like, is it because there's no sugar type thing? I would find it very hard to believe people would think it's the protein holding this one back. Again, to get something at that level, it's a very long time to see. Even some of the top bars out there, the ESN designer bar, also the Bear Bell signature bar, they deliver great sweetness, but it's in combination with that chewiness. There's always that thick doughiness. There's a better than most. The thinner bars obviously solve it with density, but no one has been able to squash it completely. The David protein bar does that. It doesn't have that candy touch to override the thickness, but god damn, do they do a ridiculously good job at just saying like, hey, this is how a protein bar can taste. And I'm not sure if other people are going to try and replicate it or mimic it or take the recipe and try it themselves. But very similar to the outright bar when it had that peanut buttery softness and smoothness, I very highly anticipate this have a huge impact on the market. It's from one of the co-founders of RX Bar, so they have experience and get it into some big places. I don't see why this wouldn't show up in many places. It's far more acceptable for the mainstream market. It doesn't yell like Quest, Fitness, Health. Like, on a quest, the whole thing that they had at the beginning, like it doesn't scream muscle fitness bodybuilding. And that is one of the things that doesn't kind of limit you sometimes. But if you can get your hands on this, you'll try it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. If you've had protein bars before, you're going to be thinking, holy shit, he's bang on. It's the eatability, the seamlessness of how you're able to eat this is what's going to crush it. Because it just feels like a regular snack bar. If this lands in any aisle, it'll feel like a snack bar. And the fact that it's also the most ridiculously high protein to calorie ratio food that you can get, even better than the steak bar that Icon did a while back, it's impressive. So if you can get your hands on it, do so. Read the full review on our website, and I expect a lot more announcements, more flavors and creativeness from these guys as it blows up, because it has only just started rolling out. Next up, we're going to go over to Viking Power, who had a couple things this week. Firstly, they reworked the nootropic. I butcher their names because obviously they're not English, but Mimir, whatever it may be. They switched that up. They removed a few ingredients and added in brain beer and estrogen to kind of make up for the differences. I also believe they upped the tyrosine, the dosage of the tyrosine. Yeah, they added 50% more. And then the bigger news was that they came out with a protein powder. Now, I've always vouched for like keeping things a protein powder. When you have something so daily and essential, some people have 2 scoops a day, some people have 3, some might even do 4 for 2 shakes a day. Either way, it's such a daily thing, you don't want to be overspending unless, of course, you take a scoop and then, holy shit, I'm not sore anymore, or the next day you're jacked, whatever it may be. It's a hard category to play to justify more money. And traditionally, when you have to pay more, it's usually for a leaner source. And it's not that much leaner. And so it's very difficult to play with this. Additives like estrogen have been pretty good. Digozyme, Velocitol thrown in there for doubling the protein synthesis. Viking Power has just gone, they've gone straight out. This is not a post-workout, so if you're thinking this is a carbs and protein situation, this is just a very premium, very high-priced protein powder. So all up, just to give you an idea, 60 serving bag is $95 US, or $94.50 US, give or take. It's converted from Swedish krona. So that's 30 servings. So let's say it's a 2-pounder, that's 50 US for a 2-pounder. That's not bad, but you do have to buy a 60 serving bag to get that better value. So if this was a 2-pounder, it wouldn't be 50 for 2 pound. It might be 55, 60, give or take. But they do only sell it in the 60 serving. So it's a big investment. But that's to get it, I guess, imagine that's to get it at a good per serving price. They do offer a little bit of discount if you buy more, but one straight out is $94.50 or $95 US per 60 serving bag. Now, you get ready for this. And don't get me wrong, this is worth every bit of money that you pay. So this isn't a rip by any sense. This is pretty much a good deal. If you already buy a lot of these things that they've got in there, like some people might buy, I know MTS had was it Swoley? I'm pretty sure that was the name of it. Might be something else. They had a Velocitol. They had a supplement that you add. I use it quite a bit. It's bugging me that I can't remember the name. They had a little additive that you throw to protein with Velocitol in it and a few other ingredients to beef up. So if you're someone who buys all of this, this is going to be great value for you. Now, so you get 27 grams of protein per serving. So keep in mind, it's 60 servings. You're probably looking at 60 times 2 grams extra. So you could probably get 5 extra servings if you're used to doing the 25. Again, this is 27 per scoop. All of that's from whey isolate. There's 600 milligrams of fat, so practically no fat. On top of that, you've got 1 gram of carbohydrates for 120 calories. So the protein to calorie ratio is on point. You're getting calories from half a gram of fat, a gram of carbs, practically nothing. Now, where it gets a bit spicy and justifiable on that extra premium price, there is sun fiber, dietary fiber. The AI discovered muscle builder peptide strong at an effective and full 2.4 grams a serving. 2 grams of Velocitol, which, as I mentioned, is the muscle protein synthesis enhancer, proudly known for the tagline, double the power of your protein. Then you've got digozyme enzymes, lactose-spore probiotics, and then estrogen to just really juice up the absorption and efficacy of it all. In short, it's as juicy of a protein powder as you're going to find. As I said, usually you get a little bit additive here and there, So Viking Power is a house brand of Sports, the Swedish retailer. They do have more traditional offerings under their other house brands. So if you want something more straightforward, they have your answer. Viking Power has always been their advanced premium brand. This is very much like, you want to spend as much money as possible on a protein powder, this is the way to do it. And I applaud them for doing it and squeezing all they have in there and just going balls to the wall, like not even concerned, just being like, hey, if you really want to invest, because as I said, it's $95 for 60 servings. That is $47.50, give or take, for £2, 30 serving. Maybe even 32 servings if you juggle that protein down to 25 grams. That's not bad for something that has all that extra value. Peptide Strong supplements aren't easy to come by, let alone being able to find as standalones to add. And even if you find one, I think there are a couple out there, they aren't like as cheap as this is to add. What, $40 on an isolate? So $45 on isolate. You're paying $5 extra for Peptide Strong, plus the estrogen, plus the Velocitol, plus the diazyme, lactospore, and then the sun fiber. So again, this is a high-priced protein powder, but it's extremely justified and extremely reasonable. And so yeah, you can get it now over on Sports. Another great supplement from them. They tend to do this a lot, and so kudos to them for really just driving it home. The last story we don't have too many to share, mostly because time's just summing up, and I really want to put a lot of effort on this last little one that you can see behind me. Firstly, we had two announcements this week. The other one was Ghost is indeed, we announced them as the first participant for the Stacked Pavilion. Next year at the Arnold Sports Festival, they will indeed be there at the front, handing, welcoming people to the show, basically. They will be there at the front of the thing, front right corner, as they were this year. I'm proud to have them back. It's great to have a brand like that in that space, joining all the other smaller, moderate, up-and-coming guys, as well as other big names in there. And so just very cool to have them there, and just so glad that they're coming back. They're the first one to be confirmed. We will have more being confirmed week after week after week. I believe we're going to do them one by one, because I think we're pretty much, if we start now, we should be fine by the time we get there. And the other bit of news that kind of overshadowed, and I had zero idea about, was the other one that came at the end of the week, and that is that Dr. Pepper is agreed to acquire Ghost. And what I have to give it up is a monumental deal. So Dr. Pepper is acquiring the Ghost energy and lifestyle brand, so supplements, energy drinks, the whole shebang. Initially, it's going to be for 60%, so a majority stake, for $990 million. You may as well call it $1 billion, but $990 million for the specifics. And then that is going to be chased up in 2028 by the remaining 40%. And this is all, they didn't say too much about it, just sort of that will depend on performance basically between now and then. So 2028, I believe 2028 is when it's meant to be finalized or judged on the 2027 performance. So next 3 years, give or take, they will grab the remaining 40%, but it's a huge deal for them after seeing them, being there the whole way, watching them launch, watching them grow, giving them brand of the year. They've taken home the Protein Wars title. We gave them the brand of the decade title as well. And this was very much one of the reasons why, just because they have been ridiculously consistent throughout their time. They, as much as big as they've gotten, they have done incredibly well to stay grounded and true to sports nutrition. Typically, when a brand gets to a certain size, it's limited on what it can do in terms of releases, maybe runs, maybe flavors, but Ghost never did that. At no point, if you took away where they were available, the people that they partner with, you took away all of that and just saw what they did, very much the developments that they've done in the early stages did not slow down. If anything, they got better. And that is not common at all for anybody. I think there are a lot of big brands out there that do those things in the beginning, get going, and then whatever they do, sometimes it's different to what, again, you take away that success, you can see a notable change in a lot of brands. You can think, if you just showed what they did year after year, you'll see on paper, okay, they slowed down, they didn't do as many exciting things, they didn't push the barriers here and there. Ghost has done that. And that was one of the reasons, the biggest reason we felt the need to give them that brand of the decade. And this, to be honest, I think it was 2 years later, 3 years later we are from that, it's the same again. Like, they have not, this year alone, they have done ridiculous things. And I think a lot of their success and a lot of their hype disguises that. But I don't think you can name a brand out there that introduced a sports drink that made its way into everywhere that Ghost Hydration did, reformulated 3 or 4 of their mainstream products, I think they launched their brand new joint. I know there's another one, and obviously I don't have everything in front of me. They just did their sleep, which is insanely good. They did Ghost Intra as well, which was a complex intra workout. 3 completely new supplements. Put them into 3 completely new categories. They weren't in joint, intra, or sleep. And then not to mention their protein snack. And now you talk about all their special edition flavors and collaborations that filled the year as well. And not to mention the return of the Max Tuning collab, which was the most extensive to date, with multiple products getting his signature flavor, with sour strip, and now you've got this. And this won't go in, this whole partnership isn't to be finalized, I think, until early next year, it said. Into this year, early next year. But their performance this year, again, much to what I was saying, what they've done, despite their size, has been incredible. And they've got to be commended for how they've been able to pull it off, all the different avenues they've done. Did I say the protein cereal? I think I did. Anyway, and they haven't stopped. And again, usually brands get big, certain size, get bought out like this, and then they slow things down. But I don't foresee that happening. I just can't. I would think that even though we've got a lot of examples in the history of supplements of brands chilling off, laying back, just taking their foot off the gas, after all these years, Ghost has put his foot further down and just doubled down and kicked ass. And again, one of the important notes of the announcement with Dr. Pepper acquiring Ghost Energy and supplements again, is that Dan and Ryan, the 2 original guys that have pretty much driven the bus the whole way, staying. I haven't spoken too much about it, but damn, that's cool. I wouldn't be, most guys, I would have just been like, hey, cool, I'm out. But I think it's just great to see that they're staying on board. And of all the brands that have gone through these sorts of things and done what big brands have done, I almost foresee them taking opportunity and advantage of the situation and just driving that home run after home run as they've consistently done. So big congratulations to the team at Ghost. Big congratulations to Dan and Ryan. I've known Dan for one of the longest people I've known in the industry, right from when we started Stacked, actually. So it was fantastic to see this, and I'm looking forward to seeing these next 3 years, and then even more so when Dr. Pepper has the remaining stake. If anyone's going to continue to push the boundary, even when something monumental like this happens, it's going to be these guys. They've given no reason for you to think that they wouldn't. The energy drink could have dropped the nootropic formula after the success it had. They kept going. They pushed the boundaries on flavor. They kept doing the collabs. They've held on to them all. They've been a ridiculously good, again, brand of the decade, I think, is well deserved for them. And they have not disappointed since we gave them that award, to be honest. So kudos to them. One of the biggest announcements, I would think, of the year, successes mostly. And I look forward to seeing them at the Arnold Sports Festival. It would be great to have them there, especially after this, and congratulate them in person if you're there, if you don't see them between then. But for this week's episode, that is it. That wraps it up. As always, all we ask that you do is go to the Stack website 1, 2, 3 times, 10 times. Keep it open on your desktop. Keep it open on your phone. Refresh it when you're on the shitter, on the toilet, whatever you want to do. Just go to the site. That's all we ask. That's how we benefit and we keep the train going. Share the website with your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, cousins even, grandma, if she has a phone. And look forward to having you back on next episode. Thank you.